Hi guys! This video has been inspired by some of the questions that my patients with high hamstring tendinopathy asks me. So it's going to be specifically about how should you be avoiding sitting? Should you be forcing yourself to sit? What's the deal with sitting? Because we all know that sitting can be excruciatingly painful when you have a high hamstring tendinopathy. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Maryke. I'm one of the physiotherapists from sportsinjuryphysio.com, where you can get online physiotherapy assessment as well as treatment for your injuries. Have a look at the description of this video if you want a link to the website. Okay, so what's the deal with sitting? Now, when you have a high hamstring tendinopathy, the pain that you can have from that can vary from just being a niggly pain, uncomfortable when you've sat for an hour or so, or it can be excruciating pain that really interferes with your life, that you can't sit for more than 5 to 10 minutes at a time before you've got to get up and walk. And it's quite normal to become quite fearful of sitting in the end. So the questions people ask me are things along the lines of, if I sit and there's pain, am I making my injury worse? Should I force myself to get used to sitting by just sitting more and sitting through the pain? Now the answer to both those questions is actually no. So let me tell you or explain this a little bit better. So when we think of injuries, there's the pain aspect and there's the actual tissue damage or the injury itself. Now what we know from research is that actually there's a disconnect between the two. You can have a super painful injury, but with very little damage. And then the same thing is you can have a big injury with nearly no pain. So pain and the amount of pain you're in, or the intensity of pain that you're feeling, does not indicate anything about the severity of your injury. But now, the problem with high hamstring tendinopathy is that the pain becomes more the injury rather than the injury itself, because that pain is the thing that keeps you awake at night, that stops you from sitting, that stops you from being able to go out and socialize with your friends. And the problem with pain is that it's the body's alarm system to try and get you to take action because it feels endangered through what you're doing. But this alarm system can go haywire. And with high hamstring tendinopathy, it's often a case that the pain response is excessive compared to the damage you've got. Now, the more often you trigger the pain response and the more intensely you trigger it, the better the body becomes at creating more pain. So what happens is when they look at it under a microscope, that area, you actually get more little pain receptors in that area that can fire off. Where they used to fire off at a threshold this high, they're now triggered by a threshold this high. So for sitting, for instance, where you could sit for an hour before it started saying, I don't like this. Now it's 5 to 10 minutes and it's shouting at you. Also, your thoughts and feelings can affect that. So if you really feel that it's a dangerous pain and it's affecting your life dramatically and you're worried about making it even worse, that will even make that pain feel even worse. So that's why trying to sit through the pain is not useful, because all you're doing is you're pressing on that bruise, you're pressing on that really painful area, and it's becoming more sensitive, more painful, so it creates more pain, and that interferes more with you, which brings that cycle of feeling very down about it and being able to participate less and less becomes more of a reality then. But the flip side is also true. If you become fearful of sitting and you believe that you should never sit again and sitting is bad for you and you should just stand, then actually that feeds into the pain cycle. And you cannot, anybody who's tried to stand for most of the day will tell you that your back gets sore, other things starts to hurt, because we weren't designed to just stand all day long. So I don't want you to be fearful of sitting and think you have to avoid it at all costs. So what do you do? So what my patients tend to find useful is that they sit when they can sit, and they sit for as long as it's comfortable for them. So they don't force themselves to sit for longer and sit through pain, but they also don't avoid it fully. So often you'll find that you can sit for several minutes, several times a day, but then you've got to get up, stand a bit, walk around or lie down and stuff. So don't avoid sitting, but don't force yourself to sit for longer to sit through pain. If today's a good day and you find, I can sit for 20 minutes or so, then I start feeling a little bit as if I should get up. Get up! There's no use sitting further and then feeling uncomfortable after that. But when you feel ready to sit again, sit again. So I hope I'm making the message clear here is, yes, it doesn't make your injury worse to sit through pain, but it can make your pain worse, and the pain is the thing that's ruining your life in any case. Second, being fearful of sitting and avoiding it at all costs is not useful. The midway of sitting according to what you feel you can is the way to go. And then, of course, don't force yourself to have to sit on a hard surface or anything. Use anything you can to make it more comfortable to sit. So there are loads of cushions available, and depending on where your tendon is injured, a different cushion may be useful because it'll put pressure on a different area. Something like a simple feather cushion can sometimes be useful because you can really mold it to take the pressure in different parts. So hope that's given you a few ideas. Let me know if you've got any questions. You're welcome to leave a comment in the comments, but I don't always see them. So if you really want to chat to me, rather email me. You'll find a link to the website in the description of this video. Take care.